Hello, my name is Blossoms and welcome to another Genshin Impact video. And yeah, that's right, we have another team composition video. Haven't done one of these in a while. They do take quite a bit of effort, but Kokomi is kind of a special case in the sense that, well, she's not exactly one of the best characters in the game and can be pretty reliant on her team compositions to be an effective choice for your team. So I thought it would be really useful and helpful for those who did want to get Kokomi and did get Kokomi to make a team composition video, as I've been enjoying her and I've been testing her in a bunch of teams, and I've got to say she's plenty of fun and she can still clear Spiral of Bliss floor 12 without really a problem in the right compositions. In fact, every team composition that we will be showing here today will have a little preview on floor 12 chamber 1, which isn't exactly the most crazy floor, but it does show that she can surpass those floors. But I didn't come up with every team composition. If you have any cool team compositions, I would love to see them in the comment section below, and in fact I will be recommending other units that you could use in place of some of the units that I have on these teams. These are just suggestions, and I find it important that you think of these teams more in the elemental way rather than the actual character, because often the element is the most important and the actual functionality of the characters is what is important. A great example of that would be something like Sucrose and Kazuha. If you don't have Kazuha or you don't have Sucrose, they can typically swap out for one of the other because they both crowd control and apply animo. So with that said, let's go ahead and start showing off some Kokomi team compositions. Starting off with team 1, we have Kokomi, Beidou Official, and Xingqiu, and as you can tell, this team is going all in on the electro charge reactions. This is actually a pretty darn strong team and very effective at crowd control, and a really good way to think of Kokomi when you're building your teams is oftentimes as her just being an applier of an element and not necessarily the big DPS numbers. As you can probably imagine, a lot of the damage on this team is coming from Beidou, Xingqiu, and Official, and Kokomi is just kind of facilitating heals and application of hydro, and these guys just work really well together. You can clear floor 12 chamber 1, as you can see here, pretty darn easily just because of all the crowd control you have. I will say one problem with this team is that it is a lot of micromanagement of abilities, and I don't play optimally in probably any of these clips, but I still clear floor 12 chamber 1 within about a minute 45 for any of these teams. But this team in particular is pretty darn strong. I do like them, and this is probably one of my favorite ways to run Kokomi. Of course, it's not effective everywhere, because if you run into an element that you just can't really deal with this team, then you kind of get screwed. Now, I will say this team actually gets a lot better with constellations, especially with characters like Beidou and Xingqiu, who provide buffs and debuffs for electro resistance and the damage for them in some of their constellations. That's very important, so that really helps out a lot. But I also will note that you don't necessarily need Xingqiu on this team because Kokomi is very good at applying hydro. I would say you need to keep Fischl or Beidou. You could even put Raiden Shogun in here in one of their slots. I actually messed around with that and it was very effective as well, but I think Xingqiu is the most replaceable. Somebody like Sucrose or Kazuha are going to be a great replacement for that slot as well, especially since you get some of the shred. It's just this is the most consistent version of getting that electro charge as much as possible, but I do really like swapping Kazuha in here. He is a very strong unit to have in this team, and also I do like putting the Raiden Shogun in here because she just facilitates a lot of energy for the team, even though she doesn't work with somebody like Beidou, which can really suck. I think Beidou and Kokomi are the anchors of this, and Fischl and Xingqiu are the ones that are the most replaceable in this team. But for the most part, really like these guys. Let's move on to the next one. For team 2, we have Kokomi, Xiangling, Bennett, and Sucrose. This is kind of the reversed vaporized team. Of course, this basically goes for the same as the last team, where we could have somebody like Xingqiu in here, but I don't really find it necessary. In fact, Sucrose is really good for this because you need characters bunched up for this to really work, because you're going to be operating out of Bennett's circle and the radius of Xiangling's Q, and that's going to be very important. So just being able to have crowd control is very important for this team, as well as the shred. You also get the elemental resonance of the 25% extra attack, which is very nice, especially for Kokomi, since oftentimes you're going to be having HP artifacts on her. Additional attack is going to be wonderful, and I really like this team. You know, good reverse vapes. If you like the Tartaglia and Xiangling combo of their reverse vaporized team, then this team is right up your alley. Kokomi provides exactly the same function of just applying a ton of hydro and getting a bunch of reverse vaporizes, as you can see here. This is also another team where you could just replace Sucrose with somebody like Kazuha. I just wanted to show more accessible characters for the most part. And I think later down the line, depending how strong Toma's Q is, you might be able to replace Bennett or Xiangling. I don't really think he's going to be able to replace one of those spots, but if he does do really good damage, then he might be a contender for a reverse Vaporize team like this. So that's just something to consider as well, because that would also give you a shielder, which would be pretty nice. Moving on towards Team 3, we have Kokomi, Aloy, Rosaria, and Sucrose. Again, this is another one where Sucrose could be swapped out with Kazuha or some other Animo unit that it just can do some of the crowd control. The really big important part about this is I don't think you could fit Venti in this squad, specifically just because he doesn't suck up Aloy's bombs, and I really like Aloy in this team, especially with the crowd control aspect, because the bombs and her Q just cover a very large radius and allow you to freeze pretty much everybody. Of course, if you have somebody like Ganyu is going to fill that function extremely well, like a support build Ganyu who can just have her Q on an infinite uptime is really good for this team, for a perma-freeze team. But these guys together are amazing. The elemental resonance of the cryo is very nice for the extra crit rate. Not that it's really going to be helping your Kokomi at all, but your other units are going to be benefiting a ton. Kokomi is just going to be there again for applying the Hydro, and a lot of the focus is going to be on characters like Aloy, Rosaria, and Sucrose. Moving on to Team 4, we have Kokomi, Raiden Shogun, Yoimiya, and Kazuha. No elemental resonance here, but this is one of my personal favorite teams. It's actually been one of my daily drivers, as I enjoy each one of these units by themselves, and all together they just happen to work pretty darn well, and I'm very satisfied with the outcome. Yoimiya being a solid single target DPS, Kazuha being really good at crowd control, and Raiden Shogun providing energy for the whole team, and Kokomi just applying Hydro and heals whenever you need it is really fun, and it's actually a lot better than I thought it would be. And one of the primary reasons for this is because you can do Electro Charge with something like Kokomi and Raiden Shogun, and then, you know, swirl that up with Kazuha and get the buffs going and have the Hydro and Electro still procced on the enemy there. And then you can swap to Yoimiya and you can do her damage with the Pyro, and you're not only going to be doing some reverse vaporizes, but you're also going to be doing some overloads just because of the way Electro Charge can react with Pyro if you do it in the right order. Yes, it matters. And Kazuha really helps facilitate and continue that reaction on the field. Not to mention Kokomi and Raiden Shogun's E skills both persist even when they aren't on the field, so their application is still ongoing, and Yoimiya can just kind of go ham, and when she's done you can hit Q to buff everybody else to do it all over again and rinse and repeat. It's actually really fun and has been one of my favorite teams thus far. I'm really excited to mess around with this concept a little bit more, see if I can make it a little bit more effective, but these guys on their own are really nice. I also really like Yoimiya's Q in this specifically because when Yoimiya runs out and I run her Q, if I don't have something like Kazuha's Q or Raiden Shogun's Q, then maybe I'll go on Kokomi for a bit, use her Q, and I have the increased damage, and the characters that I hit that have Yoimiya's Spark are going to be getting the reverse vaporize proc on them, which is just a really nice cherry on top. The way all of these guys interact just kind of surprised me in how well it was. So if you have these characters, I highly recommend just trying them all out together, as it is a ton of fun, and if you couldn't tell, my favorite team of the bunch. Alright, that's going to be about it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed some of those team comps and saw how effective they were. I hope they also help you build more effective team comps for your Kokomi. But as I said, if you have any team comps that you really enjoy that weren't in this video, let me know in the comment section below, as I would really like to see some of your ideas, because I always love trying out new teams. But other than that, that's going to be it for the video. My name is Blossoms, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.